got Emerson. Emo is a slim and trim. By the way, I think Emo's been running some hoops. I think he's been down in Carolina, maybe running with MJ and the boys. There on Chapel Hill, looking slim and trim.
Hey, you just gotta be in the best shape you can possibly be. You know, I was a shaper before; it was just round, and now
You
maybe
change shapes.
I'm changing shapes. Yeah,
You're a rectangle now.
not just try to stay a stick shape.
I got to tell you, it's early. Obviously, it's early, and nobody's had to get anybody out for real. Nobody's had to make a pressure pitch for real. But I just think the collection of arms is something I don't want to oversell it because I wasn't overselling it last year. I'm excited of what I'm seeing. What about you with this collection of arms, whether it's on starters, relievers, the volume of players that you have?
Yeah, just the physicality of these guys so far. You know, the front office did an amazing job of acquiring talent, and you know, it's our job to take that talent and actually get them to perform on the field. You know, so it's one thing to see them throw their bullpens, maybe throw some batting practice, but it's another thing to see how they respond to a real action, to the real game, and see if they got the ability to slow it down. And I'm very excited for what we got right now.
Let's go over some of your pitchers. Shintaro, we got to meet him at the press conference. Scott Boras, we talked to him, and then talked to Fuji, as we like to call him. Obviously, there's an interpreter. Obviously, there's things that you're going to work through. So far, what's the experience been like with the big right-hander?
Man, I love it. I mean, big, strong, physical. Got all the attributes that you're looking for out of a pitcher. Good fastball, moves fairly well. He's got the split game, a curveball. He can sink it. He can cut it. He's got a lot of the intangibles that you're looking for, and so far, an amazing person. Just a pleasure to be around each and every day. Wants to work, wants to learn, constantly asking questions, and that's the best part. Is he wants to be over here, and I think he's motivated to prove to people that he wants to be here and be one of the best in the world.
When I think about the control problems that we heard of that happened for years, big arm, always control problems. Last 3 months of his season, figured it out. Do you see any reasons why he may have had control problems or why he's figured that out?
Well, it's kind of funny. I asked him a couple days ago. I said, "How long have you wanted to, be in the United States playing baseball?" And he said, "Since high school." So, you got a guy who was a star over there, and not to say that he got bored, maybe, but maybe his goal was to be a major leaguer, and he didn't see it for a while, and he might have gotten complacent a little bit. But the one thing I've been talking to him about is focus. You got to be focused from one pitch at a time, and I think that motivation of him coming to the States, wanting to prove somebody wrong or prove it to himself that he's good, and I think that's going to be a really good motivator for him.
Ken Waldichuk, that last outing, we talked to him yesterday about it against Ohtani. There was a lot of talk because it was like Ohtani's last showcase. Will he be the MVP? Will he get Cy Young votes? It was, there was a lot of media there. And Waldichuk went out and outdueled him, pitched well. And what I love is he told us yesterday, I really didn't have my best stuff, and I relied on my changeup, which really isn't one of my best pitches. I said, so what you went out and actually pitched. You weren't a thrower, you were a pitcher. You went out, what was working that day, you utilized it, and you won. Just how much growth have you seen in him?
Well, what's the saying?
Well, hitting his timing.
Pitching his disruption of timing. And that's what he did that day. He went out there, and that's why the changeup for me is a valuable weapon. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to throw your pitches, a percentage of times, this pitch, this percent, this pitch, that percent. Your weapons are for when you need them. And he went out that game. He did a really good job. He was really aggressive. He got Stephen Vogt another at bat.
Yes,
and that was
how'd that work
huge.
out?
That was huge. And I think when he learns to control his physicality, we're not linebackers out there. We're major league pitchers, and having the ability to harness that energy into baseball moves, not linebacker moves. Not that I got to do something strong. I got to push the weight. No, you got to stay within yourself and make a pitch. And that was one of my message to the whole pitching staff. Like, you're all good for a reason because you have good stuff. You stay in the big leagues because you know how to execute pitches.
There you go. And Paul Blackburn stopped by. Was shivering yesterday. We were out here. It was so cold, but it was nice of him to stop by. He talking to him last year in the clubhouse at spring training, and obviously doing all the interviews, all-star, all that, and then sitting down with him yesterday. He's a different person. You know, we all talk about the physical aspects. We're talking spin rate and velocity. And, I'll tell you what, Paul Blackburn mentally to me is a different guy, more confident. Are you seeing that?
Yeah, I think, when you go out and you have the first half that he had last year and making the All-Star team, obviously you're a pretty good pitcher, making that All-Star team. And I think that just gave him a lot of confidence. That finger was hurting him a little bit before the All-Star game. So he had some issues going on before that he tried to battle and deal with. I'm sure that, when you got an issue and you got a chance to make the All-Star team, right, you're trying to fight your way through it and make sure you don't get put on the DL for a reason. And then after that All-Star game, it just kind of, really, hurt him, and we had to get him on the DL and get that thing looked at.
And he's ready to rock. And, good chance he could be the opening day starter. And if that is the case, that is just a great honor. There's no question about it. James Kaprielian, I'm not sure exactly where he is with his health until we really see him pitching against hitters in games. We know we've talked to Cap before. He wants to be the dude. He wants to be the guy. You want him to be that guy. What needs to happen for him to have that type of season where you really can trust he can take the ball every 5 days and live up to what he wants to be?
Well, I think you said it best about, let's see where Cap is on coming back from the injury. There's no harder worker in that clubhouse than James Kaprielian. I mean, there's no, bulldog type guy who wants the baseball, who wants to compete more than James Kaprielian. And I love that for him. He just got to go out there and not overthink. I think sometimes, not him in particular, but, when you want to be great, you're striving for more and more and more and more. Just start taking your strengths, understanding what you do well, execute those things that you do well, work on your weaknesses a little bit, but master those strengths. And when James masters his strengths, it's going to be really good.
And a guy that we had here earlier today, and I was like, wow, because you don't know until you meet guys. You can look at the body, you can look at height and weight and minor league numbers. Kyle Muller shows up, boy, confidence like you wouldn't believe. You're talking about a guy who thinks he's the dude. I mean, and he's been compared to Madison Bumgarner. You're also a tall lefty, a big lefty. He told us, and we're going to play this right after you. He told us, yeah, my time in the minor league's over. I'm done. I've done what I need to do. I'm ready to be in the big leagues every single day. And I'm like, damn, when you admit that's some confidence right there. But that's what I love to see. I want somebody who thinks they're the guy. Kyle Muller, tell me about the big lefty, because he's coming as advertised.
Well, if he pitches like he threw his bullpen today, he's not going back to the minor leagues. I mean, he was really good today in his bullpen. And that's what you love about guys. You want every guy to think they're the ace of the team.
Yes.
You want every guy when they take the mound, it's his show that day. And that's the confidence you have to have. Now you got to go out and back it up, right? But just watching him throw his bullpen today, doing some little adjustments. This guy's big, strong, physical, athletic. The first phone call I made after we traded for him was Brian Bridges, the old scouting director of the Atlanta Braves. And he told me, he's one of the most athletic people that he's seen. And then I go watch the video, and now I'm seeing, high 90s fastball, a good arm, good breaker. It's just putting it all together. Just put it all together. Understand the big leagues. Understand that hitters are important too. Can you exploit this hitter's weakness with a strength? Do you have the ability to go hard in, soft away? Do you have the ability to go hard away, soft away? He has that ability. Now, what I've been telling the pitchers a lot is we got to focus. Everything matters in this game. Playing catch matters. Everything you have, every time you have a baseball in your hand, that throw matters. And the more you are a professional glove hitter, the better you're going to be.
Yeah. You're just not warming up. You're playing catch. You're hitting a target. It's like shooting a gun. You just never just shoot. You always shoot as a target. Folks, it's like every sport. It doesn't matter. If you're a quarterback and you're just throwing to wide receivers, you're throwing to the spots for the wide receivers. If you're a professional golfer on the range, you're always hitting at a target. Why would a pitcher who has a ball, whenever we have, if you're in hockey and you're shooting at the net, there's always different quadrants at the nets you're shooting at. Why would it be any different with baseball? You're always aiming what you're throwing or hitting.
I love velocity just like anybody else. I mean, high velocity pitchers who can execute pitches, that equals greatness. Low velocity pitchers who can't execute pitches, that equals minor league player, right? So if you have okay velocity, you got to be able to hit your targets. You got to be able to be that professional glove hitter. And so the elite guys are the professional glove hitters with the elite stuff. The good guys are the professional glove hitters with, pretty good major league stuff. The bad guys are the guys that can't hit the mitt with anything, and that's why they're back in the minor leagues trying to develop hitting the target or being that professional glove hitter.
In a season like last year, or even in a season like coming up this year, where you're going to have young players, I talked about this. People are going to hear Trevor May talk about it today, because I talked about him being a veteran on the staff. I talked about with Tony Kemp going to be with the hitters, is that at some point, veteran guys and coaches, you're going to need to recognize that I got a young guy struggling here. And sometimes you got to put your arm around him. You got to give him a little love. Whether it was last year or what's going to come up, like when do you know that there are times you got to pull a guy aside because you don't know what's going on off the field? I mean, you got to be, you're just not spin rates and velocity. And I mean, you got to be like a psychologist. I mean, as a pitching coach, you're more than just hitting targets. There's a lot that goes into this. So when do you know I got a guy that's down? How do you step in and help this young kid?
I think, I like to think of like I'm a drop down in everybody's menu, and that each pitcher owns his own corporation, and I work within that corporation. So it's easier for me to adjust to players and the players to constantly adjust to me. So I want to be able to, be that psychologist, be the dad, be the uncle, play different roles throughout the course of the season. The communication and the collaboration with each player, understanding what makes them tick. And generally, you can see some mannerisms when they're not having a good day. And it's going up to them, and anything I can do to help, and just getting them to understand that we are there for them. Now, I also tell them I'm here to tell you the truth too. You got to understand, like, if I'm suggesting something, then something's probably going on. Look, if you're going out there and you're making your 30 to 32 starts and you got a 1.79, I'm probably sitting in the chair, drinking a Gatorade during the game, and like, I didn't know. Yeah, good pitch. Yeah, good pitch. So there's I believe that there's a lot of overcoaching.
You're a cheerleader.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of overcoaching in the game of baseball because, people want to say, oh, I helped this guy, I stamped this guy. And at the end of the day, it's listening and understanding and being a good listener, and sometimes, the younger coach, when I was younger, I was probably stubborn coach. I didn't want to listen as much. So now I want to intake as much information as I can, then get the data as much information as I can, and filter this to the player. And it's important because, like you said, once they go between the white lines, they got a battle. And then once they come off the white lines, there's still other battles, whether it's personal problems or what have you. So, just kind of understanding the mannerism. I know when they take the field, whether they're having a bad day. I know at stretch whether they're having a bad day. It's just trying to understand and watching and observing your guys.
Yeah, you always think your teachers didn't know. You don't think your parents know. You don't think your bosses know. People know. I mean, I work with a guy. I know me as soon as I walk in the door, I know what kind of mood he's in, right? You know exactly. Happy Cody, not happy Cody.
Usually happy, but last couple of days has been not unhappy, but
I might send him to you.
Bewildered.
You don't like the weather?
We've been used to the Bay Area's been like this for months now, so this is like nothing new.
Supposedly it's snowing back in the Bay Area in some spots.
Welcome back.
Bullpen. You start looking around your bullpen. Lack of velocity has been a problem in the past. I'm not sure it's going to be a problem. I mean, just talk about you got a bunch of guys options now at the end of the game where you saw what Danny did for you, Jackson, what he did for you. And now you throw in May, Sammy spin rate, as we're calling him now. By the way, Sam Moll has no idea about spin rate. And he didn't even know that we call him Sammy spin rate.
Really?
But he's got a great spin rate. So you've got a bunch of guys down there.
See, now that's funny because when we're throwing our bullpens, he talks to me about it.
Oh, so he does know about spin rate.
He knows his curveball or his slider's 3,200 at times. He knows what's going on.
Sammy's spin rate Dupe Days cast live today.
Yeah, he knows what he knows what that ball's doing.
So I think you gotta be pretty excited about your bullpen.
Yeah, and you forgot Domingo Acevedo, who put up some saves for us last year, right?
70 appearances.
Yeah, I mean, he wanted to baseball every night, and when you can look down and you see some guys have had some save opportunities, and pitching in high leverage games, Jackson, Acevedo, Jimenez, and May, and Mole, and Sneed. Sneed had a great month at the end of the year, in my opinion, made big strides. You got guys who all have pitched in leverage situations. So now it's about, can you get these guys to the mound fresh to pitch in these leverage situations?
All right, we'll get you out of here on this. Let's just talk about the rule changes because life is changing in Major League Baseball, and it's speed people up, which I think you're going to be cool with. And then also it's the pickoff rule, which we think is going to really – you throw in the bigger bags, that's going to help. But really the pickoff rule and the lack of how many times you can throw over, I think stolen bases is going to go way up. So first let's talk about the pitch timer. How are you approaching that with your pitchers to make sure they're up to speed and they're not going to be lacking on that and they'll get the ball off on time?
Yeah, the pitch timer I like a lot. You get on the mound, keep the pace of the game moving, keep the fielders on their toes behind you. I think that's a great rule. Coming up from in professional baseball myself, it was always catch the ball close to the rubber, get on the rubber, get your sign, and let's go. Let's get the action moving. And when you get the action moving, everybody's alert and awake, I guess. So, I really do love the pitch clock. Not so much the disengagements.
All right.
But I'm all right with it because those are the rules. The only thing on that I'm scared of is, the pitchers getting tired per inning. When are they going to? You're going to have to make a trip to make a break. Give them a break all the time. I'm just worried about that.
I think
it's good for the game.
I think runners are going to so exploit the disengagement, as we're calling it. I would, and I wasn't the fastest guy in the world, but I'm just thinking, at first, what I'm going to do to you, especially right-handed. We know a lot of right-handed guys don't have good pickoff moves, right? It's a show me anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a huge lead. So in your peripheral vision, you're going to see me and I'm going back anyway. And when I go back, I got a bigger bag to go back to. I'm going to force you to throw one over. Now
you got a wider bag.
A wider bag. You're now going to be uncomfortable because now you've thrown it over once. And you guys already have the data on the guys that don't like to throw over. I mean, I just think there's going to be a lot of cat and mouse with the runners. And when I see that pitch timer and I know that you're holding it, and I'm seeing 16, 17, I get to 18, I'm gone.
Yeah, it's just about, and I'm all for keeping the pace of play. Don't get me wrong on the disengagements. I think the pace of play needs to pick up. I don't mind the disengagements other than I'm worried about the pitchers gaining some rest time. Yeah, it's going to be a new experience to watch, what we have to accomplish. When do we throw over? How often are we throwing over? I think all the teams, are talking to the AAA staffs to try to get better data and better information about what they did and what they would do this year, knowing they had that last year. So, talking to Fran Reardon and our bullpen coach, Mike McCarthy, was in AAA with the Padres last year, talking to him about it, some different strategies. It's going to be, the game is altering a little bit, but it's always fun for new challenges.
How much are you working on it right now with these guys?
Our guys, they're aware of the clock during their bullpens. They're aware of the clock during their batting practices. So, the coaches who stand behind them during the batting practices are giving them cues and warnings and trying to make some pitches within 15 seconds. We also, in the off season, our guys threw about 10 bullpens before they reported. So there was times where, we wanted our guys to throw, 15 pitches within the clock rules and try to get going and try to build that stamina that way.
In this kind of shape you're in, wait, could you give me about 22, 25 minutes a game on the floor?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Banging both ends?
No,
Rebounding?
No. I'm a point guard, so I play.
You're a point forward?
I play from foul line to foul line.
He's LeBron James?
You could be Nikola Jokic from the Nuggets. He's a stretch 5.
Tony Kukoc.
All right.
Remember Tony?
Yeah,
Yes,
European player as well.
Yeah, he's a little taller, but yeah.
He's Chicago Bull. I think we remember him.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, you look great, by the way.
Well, I appreciate it. Just kind of staying off bad food, I guess, as long as I can.
Good luck, my friend.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys.
We'll see you back in March. We'll be back in March.
Sounds good.